You're listening to Up Radio, brought to you by Greg Griffin of GTG Automation. Hello, Up Radio listeners. This is Brant coming at you on 105.5 KACT in Andrews, Seminole, Odessa, Midland, in the Permian Basin, and around the world on the net, on YouTube, on Facebook. So happy to be with you on Up Radio. And, of course, you've come to listen to great interviews with people in the movie industry, rock stars who love Jesus, people in the other genres of music, and much, much more, especially local heroes. Well, you know what? I have on the air with me, I'm so excited. This guy is someone that's been in my heart for a long time. An incredible, I would call him the Godfather of songwriters in Nashville, the Forrest Gump of his generation. So as an author, and then a Ferris Bueller in the music industry. It's none other than author, speaker, musician, writer, hit maker, Bob Farrell. You might know him of Farrell and Farrell. Welcome to the show, Bob Farrell. How you doing, man?
Hey, buddy. Good to be here. Great to be here. Thanks for all that illustrious opener there. That was pretty cool. That was pretty funny.
Oh, man. Well, Bob, I tell you what, I love your bio. Of course, now you've got a book coming out because this show is airing right now Wednesday. But tomorrow, Thursday, you've got a book coming out. We're going to talk about that. And I love the bio in the back of your book. I hope you don't mind if I read it. Well, Bob Farrell is a Nashville-based musician, songwriter, producer with a career that has spanned over 40 years, 25 years of that as a Christian music duo, Farrell and Farrell, with his wife, Jane, recording 10 albums and touring all over the world, including in 1988, a year before the Berlin Wall came down, performing 30 shows in Moscow and Leningrad by invitation of the Kremlin Peace Committee. Wow. Bob has penned songs for Eric Clapton, Winona Judd, Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith, Anne Murray, and dozens of other artists, as well as several concept works, including Hero, the rock opera, Le Voyage for Sandy Patty, and 2 projects recorded with the London Symphony, one of which is Savior, performed at Carnegie Hall October 2014 and slated for the Kennedy Center, Washington, D.C., June 2016. He has had multiple GMA Dove Award and Grammy nominations, garnering 7 Doves and an NSAI Song of the Year. He continues live touring, producing Hero and Savior performances. Now, I tell you what, Bob, they say James Brown is the hardest working man in show business. I beg to differ. I think Bob Farrell is the hardest working man in show business and the music business. So, Bob, tell us about this new book that you have coming out tomorrow.
Let me back up a bit from what the format of that. I started a blog a couple of years ago, and I did it for about a year or a year and a half, and I had fun doing it, and I based my blog segments that I came out with, I guess I was doing it weekly, and on songs of mine, because it was based on the fact that I was always impassioned about whatever it was I'd written a song about, and that I was still impassioned about it, 50 years later, 20 years later, whatever. And so I did that. And when I decided to write this latest book that's coming out, that's kind of what I did. I chose something really, an inspirational tune. It's a pop song, but it's been recorded by Winona. It was recorded by Melinda Doolittle from American Idol. It was recorded by Lila McCann. It was recorded by Michael English. And it was on a Humira drug ad for 2 years. So it has some popularity.
Wow.
The song is called I Will Be. But it's just got one of those punchy and then feel-good lyrics that doesn't bash you over the head with the gospel of Christ, but it really talks to the truth, and it's inspirational. It makes you feel good. So that's where I went, and what I decided to do, really, bro, was kind of tell some testimony, some memoirs, some wisdom, some life lessons, and based on my own life, and it's just all road of life observations. And I'm kind of aiming it at the 20-somethings and 30-somethings out there that are, I think there's a lot of them that are stuck on their road of life, and some of them that feel like failures and at a young age, which is crazy. So it's kind of just some reminders and some life lessons and some precepts that I grew up with.
Wow.
I had something I shared in the book that I haven't talked about very much, but I had a bankruptcy in 2000 that I guess you could say it was fraud. You know, I was frauded at the same time. I should have known better, so I kind of got myself in the mess that I had to get unstuck from, and I learned some real serious life lessons out of it. But that's some of what I talk about in the book. You know, is how I got unstuck.
You know, Bob, you're a great, I mean, fantastic songwriter. What you got with this book, I Will Be, man, I mean, it's fantastic. You divide the line between hypothetical and practical living, you know, based on your experience. And so many people are going to relate to this. You know, you're a boomer yourself, but this generation that you're targeting, man, they need all the help they can get. This is such a fatherless culture now.
These are the same things that I've been teaching my kids and my grandkids their whole lives. So some of them they know, but we all need reminding. And I thought that was the principle behind the book, the approach behind the book, the format of the book was just, look, some of this stuff is common sense, but some of it's going to be new to you. Some of the science about the brain that I put in the book, you know, about making good decisions, because, yeah, you know what it is? It is the science. I mean, this is science from a songwriter, but it's the science that your brain, in the back of your brain, which they call the survival brain, or back of brain, either one,
right,
kind of like a hard drive storage area that records all the good and bad, but all the bad stuff gets stored on a hard drive back there. And when you get in a dilemma or a crisis or struggle mode or something, and you panic, it's survival brain. You're thinking out of the back of your brain, and you make decisions based on that. Then you're making irrational, illogical decisions, and survival brain always tells you to do one of three things: either flight, fright, or freeze. So you either get over fearful, or you fly off the handle, or fly somewhere, or run away, or you freeze up. And I've done all that. And in fact, I didn't realize until after that bankruptcy and after the year 2001, after 9/11, when I started coming out of my pity party following my bankruptcy, I realized that I'd been making a good many fear-based decisions. And then I got some real serious, good inner healing teaching on it from a friend, and it was a friend of my wife's actually, and she does therapy that way, and now my wife does that same stuff. But that's how I learned some science about it. That you go to the front of the brain, and that's where the frontal lobes are, where you make rational, calm, logical decisions. And in fact, that's the area where God does the most at bringing forth good action instead of reaction, which is never going to get you a good decision. And so it's basically moving from the back of the brain to the front of the brain, Brant, and the way you do it is through dismantlement. And you dismantle these old fear paths, and you move toward new ones. So it's basically moving from sorrow, I should say, to joy. You know, the Bible says enter his courts with thanksgiving. And that's what it's about, is you choose. You have to make a choice about it, but when you do, the brain actually heals itself. That's unbelievable thing about it to me, is that the brain will actually, through that dismantlement process, those old fear pathways will actually, if you see an X-ray of the brain, you can tell where they dry. It's like a tree that dries up, and it'll sprout a new one that's a good one.
Man,
Unbelievable. There is science behind what I'm talking about.
well, you know, in your book you say SB and FB. You know, your survival brain and then your front brain. And I love how you incorporate lyrics from your songs too, Bob. I mean, you know, there's several sections in there, and you know, as you were going through, it's interesting. I don't know if you've ever experienced this or not, but have you ever been given a song or downloaded a song in your heart? God gave it to you, or you just wrote a song that was good, but later in life that song turned out to be for you.
Yeah, and you know something? I have a funny way of looking at songwriting. I've been doing it since '71, and I've written kind of in every mode, every genre, every style. You know, pop classical for Savior and Emmanuel, which were both oratorios like Handel's Messiah.
Wow.
I've written Hero the Rock Opera with Eddie DeGarmo. I've written pop tunes, country tunes. And I really love Christian music. I've always loved Christian music.
Right.
But I love the fact that the thing that drew me about it the most, like in the early 70s when I came to the Lord, was that it gave you a chance to really zone in on one subject and preach from behind a guitar.
Wow.
So to speak. I mean, it gave you a 3-minute sermon on a certain subject, and I'd have to say that that's what I always did. My Christian songs were always really oriented toward a subject and saying it as well as, and as fresh and as unique and as new as I could inside of 3 to 4 minutes.
Man.
So that's always been kind of my personal formula, but I wanted it to have Scripture. I wanted it to be based on Scripture because I wanted it to last. And so I always made sure that these Christian songs, whether it was People in a Box or whatever it was, that it had a principle in it that was something that came from the Bible, so it would be have a chance of being timeless, you know?
Well, you not only made timeless songs, and of course, those who remember Farrell and Farrell, People in a Box, among other great hits, and of course, you know, Boundless Love, which has always been one of my most favorite songs. Man, you know, you made history. You broke new ground. You took Christian music. I mean, I don't remember, honestly, a Christian artist or band before you guys, you know, and man, but you know, one of the things I like, Bob, that about you, not only as a person, but also as a professional, is you don't, forgive me for saying this, but you don't write what they call, quote unquote, Christian crud, Christian crap. Man, it's great stuff, even by the world standards. And I guess because you're able to write such great hooks and such depth in your songs, you know, that even the world gravitated to your music. People like Eric Clapton, you know, and so many others. And let me ask you this real quick, because you know this book, man, it's well written. It's an easy read, but it's very deep. It's the kind of thing that you want to go back and read again and again. And you do include some deep lyrics in there. You know, like with the song "Believin'," you know, page 29. I've had times when the fear and the darkness were out to cover my soul. I lost hope when the meaning of life seemed to mean to swallow me whole. But then you offer some, you serve up some lyrics from some other songs. I'll be here, I'll be strong, I'll face my fears when the night is long. This is such a common sense, but a deep, encouraging book. And man, you draw from a lot of great experience. Well, you bet. Well, I'm encouraged. I'm excited about you, Bob. You know, some people are cups. They have one thing to say, or they have one lane to run in, or one genre. Buddy, you're a fountain. And there's a lot to Bob Farrell. You know, let me ask you real quick. What was it like working, doing on a song for Eric Clapton? What was that like?
It was a friend of one of my co-writer was Van Stevenson, one of his friends in L.A. in the office in L.A. for Warner Chappell.
Wow.
He was friends with the producer Tom Dowd, and I think he took it to Tom first, but we never really knew. The song was on hold and then off hold, and then it was going to get cut, and then it wasn't going to get cut. And, you know, at the last minute, this was really, they had been having trouble with that August album, and the manager, or the producer rather, I think, no, I'll tell you who it was. It was Phil Collins, because Phil Collins. Yeah, he came on board to finish the production on the August album for Clapton, and said,
"Wow,
we need to cut this song." And he pulled the set out again and showed it to Clapton, and they cut it right that minute. Well, that was cool. That was good, except Clapton got so overexcited, he cut about a 4-minute guitar solo, like he thought it was Layla. And that kind of hurt us, because when tune ended up, it was over 7 minutes long.
Wow.
And so that was back in the days of vinyl. That was just as CDs were coming out in '86,
Wow.
I guess it was. And they actually, at the last minute, bumped our song off the vinyl, which got all the big sales. So we ended up, selling 300,000 or 400,000 CDs, I guess, over time. But the album, the vinyl album, was double platinum. So that was a bummer. But yeah, it was great. In fact, it was supernaturally huge to get a Clapton cut. Just to be able to say you have a Clapton cut is pretty cool.
You mentioned Laura Brant again, and I hope you don't mind me taking it, because there are songwriters that want to hear you, man, and hear you talk. And Bob, honestly, I'm confident that as people get to know you, they're going to want to get everything you got: your books, your CDs, your DVDs, your music, and man, I would just kill to have you in West Texas do a combination of things, man. Do a book signing, do a songwriting boot camp, and even minister in a church, man. I just think that would be so incredible. I think the media would eat it up, and I would hope you would consider that, Bob Farrell.
One of the weird things that's happened in the industry, I'd have to say, is the internet. I love it and I hate it all at the same time, because the internet opened up a lot of doors. It made a lot of things easier. It took away the gatekeepers from being able to self-publish books and songs and albums and all kinds of stuff like that. But it also brought in the element of theft of music.
Yes, right.
And I'd have to tell you straight up that that's been the hardest thing on the music industry and on writers, has been the fact that before 94, 95, people had to pay a license fee to cut your song, and you got a royalty from it. That's how I raised my family. And, and after that, literally, it just went away overnight. So, I mean, the income that I'd had that was big income just dried up like an old an old creek bed. And so that's been a huge thing to have to get used to. And the fact that Spotify and all those people come along and they're not really paying writers very good money for what they're – I mean, for example, Stacey Rico cut my song Christmas Wish back in the late 90s. I wrote
your song, Christmas Wish?
Yeah, Christmas Wish. I wrote by myself.
Amy Grant did that, didn't she?
It was a big song, especially in Japan. It still is every Christmas, because Stacey's a big deal over there. And I noticed last February when I got royalty and got paid for Christmas Wish, there was a 1.5 million streams of that song in Japan over at last Christmas.
Right.
And I got paid $111 for that. So it just kind of gives you an idea of what I'm talking about, is that the business of Pandora and Spotify and, and Apple Tunes and all that stuff that's around that's doing streaming, it's really hurt the songwriter. And I know it sounds like sour grapes, but I'm just telling you straight up that it made a big difference.
It's good to know.
In the number of writers that have been able to stay in the biz. And I think it's made a difference in the quality. Quite frankly, there's too many people that are writing just not great songs. They're not great songs.
Very surfacey songs.
It sounds very samey, and it sounds like everything else. And I'm not just throwing a rotten tomato at Christian music and worship music. I'm saying the same thing about country and pop. I mean, it's kind of across the board. The quality has gone way down. And so when I was cutting my teeth on the Beatles and on Steppenwolf and on Buddy Holly tunes, I mean, all that growing up stuff, and then all those acts, Crosby, Stills and Nash, and all those people that were big in the 70s. And on into the 80s, it was hard to get songs cut, a lot harder, it seemed like, and because you really had to have a stand-up song, something that was really going to be around and last in order to get a song cut. So I think the criteria was just harder back when. Well, I've got a book I'm thinking about publishing and on songcraft, and I talk about the things that I feel like are endemic to a great song. And so... yeah, maybe I'll get to come out to West Texas. That's where I'm from originally.
Yeah, you're from Lubbock area, right?
I know, buddy. I'm from Lubbock. I was raised in Lubbock,
Oh man.
and I went to school in the '60s in Dallas, and then I ended up graduating in '72 from the University of Houston. So I'm a Texas boy.
Yeah.
But I've logged a lot of time in West Texas, bud.
Well, you know what? There's the people in West Texas are like none other, brother, and I know they will love you, and we've got to do that, and because you have a lot to offer. You know, you mentioned Buddy Holly earlier. Now, didn't you live somewhere near Buddy Holly at one time?
I did. I grew up across the alley from Buddy.
Across the alley.
He was,
wow.
yeah, and I was a youngster at the time, so my brother was closer to Buddy's age, and my brother was 6 years older than me. But yep, the Hollies lived across the alley, and I remember, as a second grader, all the craze that happened. But you have to remember that Buddy's whole career lasted about a year and a half before his plane crash. But he unleashed a type of rock and roll in the world that affected so many people, and he was kind of. And so what I remember only is just, cruising down the alley on my bicycle and hearing some big, fat, huge sounds coming out of his little detached garage.
Now, there's a rumor that Peggy Sue was recorded in a skating rink. Is that true or not?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because they had a show that ran on KDAV radio and from the Lubbock skating rink, and it was rockabilly music.
Yeah.
Up until and Buddy and Bob, that was his first duo. That's what before Buddy and Holly and the Crickets, it was Buddy and Bob.
Okay.
Wow. They sang live. So yeah, they did live recordings because they did live broadcasts from the Lubbock skating rink, and it was on one particular night when they decided to unleash one of Buddy's tunes, and yeah, it probably was Peggy Sue. But
wow,
pretty excited, pretty heady days, growing up.
Man,
and I didn't become a Christian living in Lubbock. I became a Christian in 1971 in Houston after I'd married, and when my marriage was getting kind of rocky. And I talk a little bit about that in the book. I will be, but the fact was that my salvation came at the perfect time because my marriage was falling apart in my life.
Wow.
I was looking for change. I needed change in the worst way. And
wow.
I've never known any real gospel in my life. And so when I came to Jesus in 1971, I totally came to the Lord. And I had never written a song before that either, Brant.
Wow.
It kind of came all in one package. I started writing songs 1 week after my first encounter with Jesus. And I started writing about my new faith, from the get-go.
That's so inspiring, Bob. So you didn't even start writing songs until after you came to the Lord.
Right.
Oh,
I've been in rock and roll bands and done cover songs, and I'd had a real popular group in Lubbock in high school and college, and so we were real popular and made good money, and we had a lot of fans, local fans, and we played all over West Texas. But I had moved on and moved to Houston I wanted to try to get on up in the biz, but all I was really doing was, I was a full-time student and trying to stay out of the jungles of Vietnam and all that kind of thing during those years of the late '60s, and I had gotten married, and that was kind of going sideways. It wasn't. Jane and I weren't having a good time after a couple of years of that, and that's when the Lord came along, and we had a whole new life. And you know what? I knew from the first that God had something real special. I'd gotten away from music, but I got back to it in a hurry, and the way it came back is His music and not just my music.
Wow.
Included me writing songs, and so that's kind of where it started. I was just writing from my heart, which I always did, and I always have, and I still will. I just don't know. I don't know any other way to do it. I wouldn't be very good trying to write just formula worship music, say, for instance, in Christian music today. I wouldn't be very good at that because I'm not a worship leader, and I can't do that. It has to be really heartfelt for me. And I wouldn't be very good at following somebody else's dictate about telling me I couldn't do that. I'd have to write a certain way. I wouldn't be any good at that at all.
Well, you know, there's kind of a joke out on the internet about how to write a hit worship song, you know, and it's pretty funny, pretty funny and pretty easy, but that's a whole different story.
I've seen that on the internet, and it is funny. I don't
But it's
share
true.
that kind of stuff because, yeah, I know it is, but I just feel, I don't know, it feels like to me I'm slinging sour grapes when I say something like that, and so I don't, because, you know, it's real to some people, and some people love it, and
Right.
I'm not gonna bash it. It's just that I think there ought to be room. I can just tell it this way: in the Jesus movement of 1971, when I got born again, the Jesus movement was going on, and Jesus music is what was started off in Orange County, but it also started off in Houston because Jane and I started singing from January, February of '71 onward. We started performing again immediately, and we were singing coffee houses and cold churches and just wherever they had us. And that's how Farrell and Farrell, you know, started. It was called One Man Band, and then we changed the name of it to Millennium, and then eventually to Farrell and Farrell. But you know, our heart was in that music, but nobody felt inhibited. Everybody felt like they had the freedom to say it the way they wanted to say it. If it was DeGarmo and Key and it was real street, bluesy rock, so be it. And I don't.
There was also a time. Yeah.
Yeah, you just felt freedom to express it. However, whatever kind of music was rumbling around in you, it was okay to do it. And I think that's a better formula for communication, because I think when you get too static and too staid and too samey, that it dries up. I think the emotion dries up, you know.
Well, you know, Bob, you know, as we're wrapping down our last minute, I'm so excited to talk to you. I want everyone that listens to Up Radio to check out Bob Farrell. Now, Bob, what is the best way they can check out not only this book that's being released, I Will, but your music? And I mean, what's the best way to reacquaint and for some acquaint with Bob Farrell?
The book, you can go on Facebook.com/Bob Farrell Author. That's that's kind of my Facebook presence for authors. There's also a Farrell and Farrell page at Facebook, and there's a Bob Farrell page, so you can go and let's friend up on Facebook all over the place. There's a lot of cool videos about the book on my author page at Facebook. And then come Thursday, which is tomorrow, you're going to run this on Wednesday. So September 1st, you can go to I Will Be Bob Farrell on the search bar at Amazon, and the book will come up. So the book will be there. And if you go to farrellandfarrell.com, we have compilation CDs and solo albums and Christmas albums. So there's some CDs that you can get now, anytime, at farrellandfarrell.com. And so that's the best way to hook it up and get some either CDs or books at this point. And we're about to put a facelift to the website, so there'll be eventually, pretty quick here, in fact, within the month, there'll be some information about booking speaking engagements and Farrell and Farrell gigs. Kind of which is going to happen, you know, all together. I mean, Farrell and Farrell dates on top of speaking engagements. So that's the best way.
So everyone, go to Amazon.com and check out I Will Be by Bob Farrell, and go to Facebook.com, Bob Farrell Author, and then FarrellandFarrell.com to see all the great music, listen to the music, and get yourself familiar with Bob Farrell. This ain't the first time you're going to hear him on Up Radio. And Bob, I'm so honored that you would talk to me, and it's a thrill to talk to you, brother. Well, brother, first of many, I can't wait what's on the horizon with you, Bob, and you've done so much, man, and I just can't wait to see what's next.
You, buddy, I need to come back out and see my
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
The place of my roots.
We'll reconnect, and I'm sure a lot of people will be anxious to see you. So, radio listeners, check all that out. May God bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, and give you peace. Thank you so much for being on the show, Bob Farrell.
Absolutely, man.
You bet. Listeners, we'll talk to you next time on Up Radio.